Hello, welcome to an episode of Pain and Suffering brought to you by Simon. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the Geonworks F2 and the quality control issues and some other issues it has had. Now, one important thing to keep in mind that in this video, we're going to be talking about what happened, why it happened, potential solutions to fix it, okay? And the astute among you may notice that, hey, you're gonna go easy on Gion. And yeah, I am gonna go easy on Gion. The reason I'm going to go easy on Gion versus, the height keyboard, for example, that I tore apart is because Gion is a history of doing the right thing, caring about the community, and sacrificing his own time and money just so others are happy. So historically, he's got a few points, okay? He's got some points. We're not gonna rob that from him. But instead, we're gonna just talk about it like adults and young adults. And if anybody's younger than young adults, you shouldn't be watching me. And try and figure out a solution as a community of, hey, how can we actually, help to fix this? Because some people do deserve our help and some people don't. But I consider Gion to be one of those people where we indeed should help him. Okay? So, welcome to my PowerPoint presentation. F2, gone wrong, gone sexual. So, shit. There've been some mistakes. Okay? There's been some mistakes. Let's start with this one. Oh, and I'm in the way. Why am I in the way? God damn it, me. There. I am now part of the skip machining issues. So our very first issues are this. Like, what's going on over here? What's going on over there? Like, that's a CNC failure. Why are there CNC failures on my $600 keyboard? That's a question we want an answer to. So, how did this happen? Well, it only applied to a single batch, which was the North American units, so get fucked. It was caused by using a 3D chamfer toolpath instead of a 2D path on the CNC machine. Amateur fucking mistake. This should not have happened. Should have been caught by quality control long before it left the Geonworks factory. And it was later missed by Apex quality control. This is something we're going to see a lot of repetition about. And thus far, a solution has been given for replacement tops, okay? That means if your top is affected, so although we're looking at the bottom of the keyboard right here, that's actually the top piece. If you flip it over, it's the same piece as the top piece. So replacement tops, free of charge. Cool, okay? This has been well handled. However, this only applies to the NA units. There are underlying issues outside of the NA units that you may have heard about. So yeah, this is bad. But the proposed solution is good. So we're just going to move on to the next part. Okay? Again, I'm in the way. Why am I in the way? There we go. So why is this bad? Well, the keyboard is technically not as advertised, right? If the keyboard is different from the 3D model initially proposed, right? If it differs from the CAD files and you're shipping me something actually different, then you're not sending me what I paid for, right? It's a bait and switch, obviously not at the hugest tier, but it is technically a bait and switch, right? Now, this has happened in the past with other boards. Zamb did not have a good time when Rama Foundry did his Jewels, which they made the wrong files, and their response was poor. Rama's response was poor. In this case, Gion's response is good, which is offering a full replacement part for the particular part that they screwed up, which is good. That should be the case. However, something that I would like to see is a full refund return policy for those that just don't want to deal with it. This is something that, I don't know, given the price point of the keyboard, again, this ended up being close to $600 and over $600 for people in EU and other places. Then they initially proposed $450. And the quality control is not great. The finishing, sure. Like, something I'm not going to go super in-depth about in this video is like the anodization quality. The anodization quality is not going to be fantastic because anodization in Korea is not having a good time right now. Like, Duck can no longer anodize. Lin is having issues. Geon is having issues. So, like, sure, okay? I'm going to assume that everybody that went out and bought a $600 Korean keyboard knows not to expect the best anodization on earth. And if you don't know that, you should know that, okay? Now, Geonworks QC should have failed these units during the QC phase, as incorrect model/manufacturing is the worst type of QC failure. If the physical material is incorrect before you even get to finishing, that is the worst type of quality control failure. Machining failures are the worst. This should have never left Geonworks manufacturing. As far as I know, this kind of slipped under the radar and nobody noticed it. That's a bad thing. That is a very bad thing. If you guys have seen the title of this video, literally hiring somebody for a month to comb through each keyboard with like the eyes of an eagle or hawk would have cost less than 1/10 the price of what is now happening. So things have gotten so screwed up that, you know, having proper QC in place in the first place, not a bad idea. All right. Next, vendors should not have shipped units. See Hex after realizing they had issues. So Hex, for example, if we actually look at their announcement, it was, hey, we caught a lot of B stock during quality control, so we can't ship out everyone's unit. Okay? Apex in this situation did not do such a thing. They just shipped it. They got the product and they're like, yeah, this is fine. And they just moved it on. So why even have vendors? Okay? With vendors being one of the main reasons that this price point ended up closer to 600 than 450. Okay? Now, I'm not saying vendors cannot make money. Okay? It's expensive to have a company. It's expensive to do logistics. It's expensive to have staff, but you should do your job, because at this point, Geon may have used a shipping proxy or a drop shipping service, because it would have ended in the same thing, and the keyboard would have been cheaper. So I know I'm complaining about Apex, whereas I should also be complaining about Geon, and I am. They are both equally at fault when it comes to doing this, because it was the same exact mistake. They slipped under the radar. How do you not check an entire group buy? I don't know. So let's move on to the real issue, because this issue, this is resolved. Okay, everyone's getting replacement parts. Okay, my real issue is that, and that, and that. And if we look at the Discord, there's probably a few more. Oh yeah, oh yeah, $600 keyboard right there. Look at this $600 keyboard. Okay, that's not a great picture, but ooh, $600. Oh, that's good. That's a good $600 keyboard right there. Ah, okay, that one is okay. Not actually okay. So this is not okay. The proposed solution is, again, I'm in the way. The proposed solution is a 150 USD-ish replacement solution, which is bad. Okay. So generally, as much as we'd like to replace everyone's weights, it's nearly impossible to do so. But if there are people who feel inclined to swap out their weights, they'll be eligible to purchase a set of weights that is sandblasted and coated, so not even the material that you had initially, because it's going to be brass, for 150 US dollars. Okay? That's bad. Let's talk about how this happened, okay? So this occurred during the hand polish phase, which is not actually hand polish. There's a tool that's held by the hand and you essentially polish the metal, okay? Steel is known to chip. That's why, I don't even know how to like simplify that even more. Steel is known to chip. During the CNC process, I think more than 400 weights chipped, and that's fairly normal. Chipping happens a lot with stainless steel. In the same way that warping and bending happens a lot with brass weights. So you generally pick the lesser of two evils, usually in a large enough run that's stainless steel, but if your hand polish process is destroying each and every weight, then that's probably not the play. So the manufacturer, the manu, that finished these weights should not have shipped all the weights because this was not done in-house. Okay, this was shipped off to the place that was going to hand polish, finish, coat, and then send back. Okay, if these are reputable people, then they should understand that steel will chip. I understand that steel will chip, and I've never hand polished a weight. Okay, not a steel weight. Okay. Here's my issue. Geon later approved these for shipping as it was not a noticeable part. So they came back, Geon saw them, and he's like, you know what? This is fine. It's not fun. They were later missed by Apex QC. Again, because there was no QC. So the current solution of a $150 replacement is not a good solution for people that have purchased a $600 keyboard, which is now going to be a $750 keyboard. And if we follow the same logic as the top case, the weights no longer match the 3D models advertised. And in effect, the incorrect keyboard is being shipped to users. The same amount of care and attention needs to be paid to the weights as the top case, which are now being replaced, okay? Using the same exact logic of, if I look at the original renders, there weren't big fucking chips in the steel weight, were there? Okay? So why are you sending me one that's missing material? All right. So let's devil's advocate a little bit. Let's start with I am an owner of a keyboard and I deserve a good keyboard. Yeah. So people have already purchased a keyboard that was already too expensive compared to the initial target price. And that's not even opinion. It was supposed to be $450. Now it's $600. Okay. These users now need to pay up to $750, if not more, if you're in like EU, simply to have the keyboard that they wanted. But even then, not really, because if they wanted the steel weights, that's no longer an option. So if you wanted a steel weight version, you're shit out of luck. And if you wanted weights that aren't chipped, then you're paying upwards of $750 to get the keyboard that you want. And then said users now hear about an upcoming round 2, which will be cheaper than round 1, and without the weight issues affecting round 1. So they're straight up not having a good time. So imagine I ship you something, and it's got problems with it, and I'm asking you to pay me more money to have the product that I initially advertised to you. And while I'm doing that, I'm launching a secondary product that fixes all of the issues and is substantially cheaper. How am I supposed to feel as a buyer of the round 1? Shitty, right? Now let's look on the other side. Now I've had a lot of discussions with Geon over the past few days, okay? We've talked about it. I told him, I am going to make a video and I'm going to yell and complain because here is why, here is why, here is why, and we need solutions to this because it's important. You can make mistakes, okay? Anybody can make mistakes. What matters is how you solve said mistakes, okay? Now, the counter argument from Geon's side, which is not an argument he made, it was an argument that I made while speaking to him. I'm like, wait a second, this is really expensive. So in theory, a replacement weight for every single unit, which is 2 weights, because the back weight and the mid weight need to be the same material, otherwise they don't match. With shipping, would cost around $110,000 to fix it. And that's just ballpark. It could be significantly higher if shipping goes up or material prices continue to increase as they have been doing, stuff like that. Geon barely makes any money on keyboards, okay? Like, he averages about $20 a keyboard, which is less than vendors that had the job of quality controlling and instead just slapped a label on the box and shipped it out, okay? That means he would need to sell over 5,000 keyboards with 0 mistakes just in order to buy everyone a new weight. But then you say, oh, but that's, that's okay. He can do that. But not really, because he's got a big manufacturer. So the thing about Geon is he's not just the group buy runner and then outsourcing everything to a manufacturer. He is the manufacturer. He needs to maintain CNC machines and tooling and coolant and rent and electricity and staff and tax and so much stuff, which is, again, earlier when I talked about vendors and said it's okay if they make money. Yes, they have a lot of underlying costs as long as you are doing your job correctly. In this case, Geon may never financially recover from this. So, how do we find a solution in which people are not paying $750 to get anything resembling a functional keyboard? And how does Geon not make money for the next 2 years? Okay? And I'm in the way again. Okie dokie. So here are my proposed solutions. Okay? So the tops are already being replaced. We're consider that solved. Okay? Option 1, a weight replacement program over a long term, like 1 year, where affected customers would get a replacement unit for free if they are willing to wait. This allows Geon time to get materials, have enough money for said materials, for machining said materials, finishing said materials, quality controlling said materials, and then shipping it to them. Okay, so if people are willing to be like, listen, I understand, Geon, you made a very expensive fuck up, but I understand that you're unable to instantly replace everyone's weights right now. I can wait a little bit as long as I have the guarantee that, within 1 year, I will be sent a replacement weight for free. Option 2, if customers do not wish to wait, I want them to have a full refund for sending back their units. Full refund, okay? These units can then be fixed far more economically in South Korea, because now you're not shipping weights all over the world. You're just bringing all the keyboards there. You can fix everything. You can even repurpose some of the existing materials. Okay, so this is actually slightly cheaper than doing sending everybody a replacement weight. And then potentially offer a discount on round 2 F2s for returned units for the waiting and pain and suffering involved. That's something I'd really like to see, because what hurts the most is said users that now have to pay $750 for a keyboard are seeing the round 2 that is significantly cheaper, and it's broken them. I've spoken to a lot of people who have reached out to me specifically about their issues, and I'm just like, you should be speaking to Geon, which is exactly what I did. I spoke to Geon, and I gave him a lot of my proposed solutions, and he will at some point, hopefully soon, come out with an announcement giving everyone his solutions. But for people like this that are straight up not having a good time, the least you can do is offer some sort of discount, not huge, just kill your $20 margin or something on F2, round 2. And then option 4, cuck everyone, run away with the money, go live with Ivan in the Caribbean islands, and of course, 15% fee to me for coming up with this idea. That's a proposed solution. Okay. Let's have a look at some stuff. So I was as I was going through this, one of the ideas in my head was, hey, was F2 a mistake? Like, was F2 a mistake? And what specifically got me, we'll come back and talk about the USB-C port. Okay. What specifically got me is I was looking at the updates for the F2. Okay. And I was going back. Okay. So here I am in September. And I see, okay, things are moving around. That's good. Then in November, I'm seeing, hey, there's a problem with 150 Toblerones that could not fit. So they were remade. And then half of them were not plated well, and they needed to be reworked. Okay. Go to December, and then we've got 50 out of 300 black units had processing defects. And when he says processing defects, he means machining defects. Like, how the hell did this happen? I'm not sure. Okay. I assume the machine was not loaded correctly. The piece of aluminum was the wrong size. Something was wrong. I don't know. I'm not big brain CNC man. Geon is big brain CNC man to make sure that things like this don't happen. So that's not good news. And then as a result, this happens. So that means that every unit that potentially has a USB port problem not only has a top problem and a weight problem, but a bottom problem. So essentially, every single piece thus far, except the plate, has had some sort of problem. So the bottom cases lead to USB issues. The top cases lead to the weird corner issues. The weights were chipped. So every single portion of this has failed. And Geon, good on him. He's being transparent. He's saying when things are delayed and why they're delayed and stuff like that. And that's cool. But now we move on to January. Defects occurred in 500 weights. And I think this means 500 weights like that were thrown away, not like 500 weights that were shipped to people. So defects occurred in 500 weights. And by the way, a steel machining and steel finishing is freaking expensive. Okay. So he's upset. It's very sad. Okay. Is there more issues? Okay, there isn't. Thank God. But consider all of these steps, all of these things that have gone wrong thus far. So basically every part except the plate thus far has had issues. So was F2 a mistake? I'm not sure. In my head, I feel like F2 was rushed a little bit too quickly because somebody like Geon should not have put himself in the situation where so many mistakes could happen. I would have preferred if he had taken his time, fully vetted, better sourced a different manufacturer for the finishing of the steel, or testing enough to know that the steel was going to be a problem and go with brass. I feel like a lot of this stuff could have been avoided. And then there's like silly things like, tool paths are set up wrong and people are not QCing. So either everyone is incompetent or the project was rushed. And if the project was rushed, then F2 kind of was a mistake. I would have preferred if we waited another year. Would you have rather waited another year instead of getting a keyboard that is completely messed up? I would. Maybe I'm weird, but like, I don't want to deal with shipping things back and dealing with logistics and all of that. I don't want to deal with the constant nagging pressure in the back of my head that, oh, maybe it's never going to get fixed. I'd prefer to just get a good keyboard. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. Taking that into account, and also just the involvement of vendors so quickly when I know for a fact Geon didn't want to use vendors, and I worked with Geon originally on setting up the pricing for the F2, which is why I'm making this video, because like I have a very good relationship with Geon. But if he's fucked up, he's fucked up. There's no sugarcoating it. So was F2 a mistake? That is the entire statement. It's just a question mark. Huh? Was it a mistake? All right. Thanks for attending my TED Talk. So here's what I want to hear from you guys. So I've got my proposed solutions right here. And what I would like to see in the comments and in the community are people talking about, hey, let's find a middle ground that kind of works for everyone. Okay. I don't want the comments to be like, oh, Geon is terrible and he murdered my firstborn puppy. Okay. Or I have an F2 and I hate Geon forever now. No, let's try and find a solution. Okay. So if you guys can think of any possible proposed solutions, that's something I'd like you to drop in the comments. That's something I'd like you to talk to Geon directly about. Reach out to him and be like, hey, listen, I'm not having a good time. Is it possible we do something closer to this? Keeping in mind that we have to find a happy medium. Otherwise, Geon will go out of business. Okay. Like maybe not, but it's pretty bad. It's $110,000. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. All right. So anyway, that's my video. F2 is kill. Where was you? Simone video. Eating Dorito. No.